There we go.
Okay.
We'll plug back in.
Right.
I do believe that you should be living your life. Not that life itself isn't going to throw you curveballs.
Oh, most definitely.
I mean, Lord knows. Look at the podcast.
Right.
You know,
right.
I was up last night till probably 1 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how to go live.
Okay.
I went live on Facebook so many times and deleted it
Right.
that I had friends calling me up like, hey, you okay?
And it's working out great. And you know, you and I talked as well. This is new to me, the podcast thing. You know, I'm a bit old school, so I still have to. Although I'm a technician by trade, right? So, but there's still the social media that is new to me. You'll see my post on Instagram. I do a lot of posts and kind of copy it over. I think it copies over to Facebook or something like that. But I'm familiar with Instagram, and I do a lot of posting on Instagram. So, you know, if you guys,
That's great because we're
people
going to use you on that because I don't use Instagram. I have Instagram,
okay, yeah,
but I don't use Instagram.
okay,
So.
and that's the main social media platform that I use. So, but we talked about this is something that you don't see, right? When we're not at the cigar lounge, I'm at home in my tent, right? Dirt floors, right? I got my music, I got my chairs, I got my setup, I got my alcohol, I got everything that I need. It doesn't need to be polished, right? We don't have to be, you know, in a perfect environment. This is a perfect environment of who we are and what we represent.
No, I agree. You know, you're actually the reason why I didn't put floors down here.
Yeah, no, we don't need the floors.
You
No,
know,
right.
I was thinking about it and, you know, wanting it to be polished. And you're like, but most man caves aren't.
No, right.
And I was like, you're right.
On the outside, now if you got a man cave on the inside, of course it's
Of
going to be
course,
polished.
of course.
But we're talking about outside. Where do we live? We live in Thomasville and Monticello.
Yeah.
You right? We talking about dirt floors. So
Oh, and we have, you know, and for our brothers listening up north, you know, they may have 3 or 4 months out of the year where they get to enjoy the outside. We've got maybe 2 months where it's uncomfortable being outside.
right. And then what we do at that point?
We light fires. Light fires, but yeah, we do.
Yes, sir.
You can see I lit a fire the other day.
I tell you, anything below 70, I got a fire going.
You know, I'm just about there. I used to be able to handle it. You know, I'm on those peptides now,
Okay.
trying to lose some weight,
Okay.
trying to get in better shape.
Well, talk to me. Talk to me and the audience about peptides, because we talk about, you know, as men being healthy, right? I definitely focus on my health.
And for those that don't know it, nobody will go work out with Greg. We refuse to. It's almost like Greg saw Jerry Rice run one day. And, you know, those that, I guess I'm aging myself now. But those that don't know, Jerry Rice, the best wide receiver to probably play in the NFL history for the 49ers, he had a track that he would run and the hills of San Francisco. And that's what kept him in shape.
Right.
Because he always said you shouldn't run on a treadmill all the time because that's what hurts your ankles. Because you need to be able to move side to side. And I think you watched that video when you were younger. And
Well, you know what? I've always been an athlete. And again, that was another thing that kept me from being a teenage father. You know, yeah, I had a girlfriend or girlfriends or whatever the case may be, but I chose, you know how many girlfriends I lost because I chose basketball over being with them. You know, that was just my thing. So I've always been active. I went to college on a track scholarship. I was a distance runner.
Okay. Okay. What distance did you run?
I ran the 5 mile, ran steeplechase.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So
I don't think I've ever look. If y'all see me running, y'all follow me, and y'all try to beat me, cause something's coming after us.
and you know, and that was a hidden talent that I had. But again, it kept me from being, it kept me from again, sports kept me from being a teenage father and an early, or early father, or going into early fatherhood. So I still have that. I care about me. I love me. I love me some me.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to take care of you like you take care of yourself. So I try to, I try to eat right. I take my vitamins, right? 57 years old, no prescribed medication. I went to the doctor at a doctor appointment. I got a tendonitis in this arm right here. And it's been like for 4 weeks. And I was like, something's got to be wrong. So I went to the doctor. She said, oh, it's just tendonitis. But again, vitamins, my vitamin regimen, I don't eat red meat. I learned 2 years ago that dairy doesn't agree with me. As we get older, we got to think our organs, our bones, are 57. My bones, my organs are 57 years old, right? So I can't eat what I used to.
But you look great to be 57.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And it's not. It doesn't come easy, right? But it takes it takes loving yourself, right? And it takes time, invest in yourself, right? We invest in stocks, we invest in our family, we invest in vehicles and homes, but take $20 a month and invest in yourself.
No, I agree, and this is something I've had to learn. Now, I will give a shout out to my beautiful fiance. She deals with some things, and I had mentioned to her that she needed to work out some, walk, do the step classes, not because I thought she needed it, because of the way she looked. I thought she needed it because it does help with anxiety and other things. And she has got herself in phenomenal shape. And she looked at me and she's like, so,
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
So, I can't argue with
No,
it.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I can't, especially, I've learned over the years that when I was younger, I couldn't take criticism at all. My way, the highway, the man.
Okay.
As I've gotten older, I've learned that even if I disagree with what somebody's saying, because they don't know the entire story, if they say it in a loving manner,
Okay.
I will always tell them I appreciate what they're saying. And she told me, she's like, you've talked about getting in better shape. You gonna be about it? You gonna talk about it?
Right. That's the old school saying. You gonna be about it. You gonna talk about it. You gonna be about it.
And
right.
so
right.
I'm exercising more. I got up with Lyle, who was supposed to be on the show today, but work kind of messed him up a little bit. So we will bring on Lyle and Zach, and hopefully Greg is going to be a reoccurring thing on the show.
I plan on doing it. Yes.
So we have Lyle will know a lot more about the peptides than I will, but for an uneducated person talking about it, basically peptides are amino acids.
Okay.
It is something that is used in Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa, and have been used for years.
And what is it? So is it amino acids in a liquid form, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can get them in the pill form, but the pill form doesn't absorb in the body the way that the shots do.
Okay. Because I take amino acids. That's part of my pre-workout regimen, my BCAAs. That's my pre-workout. So amino acids is definitely a necessity.
But I have learned peptides come in, are built to do different things. Like there's a peptide out there that will basically heal the body. It has healed me. In fact, if I wasn't taking it, before I started taking it in this podcast, you would see me do.
I've seen
that
you
a
do
lot.
that. I've seen you do that.
And you've seen me do it.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
It's because I have a ruptured disc in my neck.
Okay.
And they told me it would take surgery to fix it. I took a round of peptides. And
You say a round. What do you mean round?
it's you take it for 5 days a week for 5 weeks.
Okay.
And it took my pain away. I'm on the second round of it now, and I honestly think second or third round, I think it's actually going to heal me completely. I am, if you've noticed, I'm not doing that very often anymore.
Right.
And it has helped me out tremendously. And the other one I'm taking is about to finally, after 10 or 15 years, be approved by the FDA to be taken in America, because it's amazing to me. They cleared Ozempic fast. But Ozempic, people that have anxiety and depression, it strengthens their anxiety and depression
Okay.
horribly. But yet the one that has very few side effects, it's taken them 10 plus years to finally put on the market in America.
Well, we talked about this too. You know how I feel. You know, again, doctors don't make money because they're doctors. They make money off of prescriptions.
Yeah.
And that's why they prescribe. They get the kickback from the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to get away from all this medication. You have to get away from it. Diet, change your diet, change your exercise, start exercising. And I'm not saying that you got to go into the gym like I do. By the way, when I go in the gym, I don't lift. I go for the inner me because I know my DNA. I know what my history says, right? In my family, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, right? So this is always in my mind, and that's why I go to the gym, to make sure that I don't get high blood pressure, that I don't have high cholesterol or diabetes. And I had my A1C tested about a month ago at a book signing, 5.1. I think
wow.
I'm at 5.1. And when I went to the doctor, she took my blood pressure. It was 120 over 80.
Very nice.
So what I'm doing is working for me. And it may not work for everyone. And then again, when I go into the gym, I'm not lifting heavy, right? Those days is over. I'm 57.
No, I'm 43.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no desire to lift 300 pounds on a bench press.
No.
Again.
But so what people, again, by me going to the gym and working on the inside, is people don't see that. They see the outside, right? They see the product of going to the gym. But I always say this too. I go to the gym to do sit-ups. This is my mentality. And I want you to pay attention. Go to the gym to do sit-ups and work out in between. Right? Go to the gym to do sit-ups and work out in between. Because that's why most of us are in the gym, because we're trying to, control that midsection.
Yeah,
And things like that. So, and as much sit-ups that I do, I still have to, continue that every day, every time I go into the gym.
Well, I've been on this journey to better myself. And I have learned so much. Like watermelon. I've always loved watermelon, and I think that's something coming from the South, you know?
Right.
I've discussed this with other people. We always attribute, what is it thing? Black people love watermelon type of thing.
Stereotype.
Stereotype.
Yeah, stereotype. Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case. I think the case is when the Great Migration happened, and a lot of black people went from the South to the North. They took the watermelon culture with them.
Sure.
And so now you have people that won't touch watermelon because of the
stereotype.
Stereotype.
Yeah.
And when you find out that watermelon is God's gift to man, I mean, it helps regulate blood pressure. It makes certain things work better. And it's like, thank you, God.
Right.
But there's also a time of day to eat it.
Okay.
I didn't even realize this till I started walking down this journey, that certain fruits should be eaten at different times of the day. And I had no clue. Watermelon should be eaten in the morning time so that your body can absorb it as you're living your life. But pineapple and blueberry should be eaten at night. I didn't even understand that.
Right.
Because nobody talks about that.
Right.
And that,
Was that on that printout? That was on that printout that you gave me.
that I gave you,
That was
yeah,
great stuff. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
great stuff. Yeah.
shout out to ChatGPT helping me with that. I had no idea. I was dumbfounded. And we talk about, as guys, how many times have we set up at the cigar lounge and talked about how we have trouble falling asleep?
Oh, right.
And
That's me, 100%.
yeah, we talked about it with me. I remember growing up, I used to read books in the middle of the night. My parents would be asleep, or I'd walk outside. Because I had a door to the outside, but the TV was next to their room.
Right. And on that, in that was the for the sleep was was it magnesium?
Magnesium with the G word. I can never pronounce it.
Yeah, I ordered that and I started taking it, and actually it does help. It is helping me.
Did you do the L-theanine at night with it too?
Yeah, it's I think it's a combination.
So you got the combination with all three? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, it's helped me out. I'm not getting 8-9 hours a night right now, but I'm getting 5 solid straight hours.
Okay.
And for me, that's phenomenal. It's even allowed me to not, during those 5 hours, I don't get up and use the bathroom as much.
Okay.
Which is great. And the other crazy thing about it is, do you know that sleeping 8 hours straight is actually a modern invention?
Is that right?
Our forefathers did not sleep 8 hours straight. In fact, if you read books and literature pre 1830, 1840 in the Industrial Revolution, they talk about first sleep and second sleep.
Okay.
I learned this. I always heard it in books, but didn't know anything about it. So, me, it finally hit me, and I'm like, okay, what is first sleep and what is second sleep? But our ancestors would go to sleep when it got dark. And then they would sleep for about 4 hours, wake up. They would go to people's houses in the middle of the night. They would talk to people. They would go to bars would open up, restaurants would open back up. And people would stay out, from 12 to 2 or 3 in the morning. Then people would go home and get 4.5 more hours of sleep and wake up and go to work.
Right.
Which in modern terms, what does doctors say all the time? You got to get 8 hours
8
straight.
hours of sleep, yeah.
And I don't think most of us are actually designed to get 8 hours of sleep.
I've never been on that, that type of regiment. Coming and being in the military, 8 hours is almost that's not even a conversation. 4 or 5 hours, 5 hours is good for me if I can get 5 hours. As I've gotten older, I think my body's starting to adjust where I may need a couple more hours. But if I can get 6 hours, man, I feel like I'm born again.
Oh, amen to that. And I've noticed with myself, I've had a habit of doing this my entire life, where I will go 2 or 3 weeks of barely sleeping and functioning good, and then have that one day where I crash
Right.
and I get a good amount of sleep. Then I wake up and I do it all over
But
again.
is that I don't think that's healthy.
I didn't say it was healthy.
Okay. Okay. Right. Because you have to listen to our bodies, right?
We do.
You know, be in tune. We have to be in tune, and that's one of the things that I really focused on over the last 15 years is being in tune with my body. I know when something's wrong, without me, rushing to the hospital or rushing to a doctor trying to figure out something. I automatically know if I eat red meat, it felt like somebody punched me in the stomach. I know what I did. I know why I feel this way.
And it's crazy, and that's another thing that we don't pay attention to. I believe Dr. Savage wrote a book about it many years ago. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was a famous radio talk show host.
Okay.
Very famous out of San Francisco. And he was a medical doctor. And he said we should eat to the type of blood that we have. And he said certain type of bloods work better when they get more vegetables. Certain type of blood works better when they eat leaner, less fatty meats. And certain type of bloods do better with the red meats.
Okay.
And that's something that we don't pay attention to. And it's always something I don't pay attention to either, but it is an interesting study, though.
And it's preference. Again, I'm not telling people to stop eating red meat. It just
Yeah,
works
'cause I'm not.
I'm not doing that.
I love my steak.
Yeah. But I just do better with fish, turkey, chicken. As a matter of fact, I stopped by Publix. This is a spinach wrap, turkey spinach wrap. So I don't eat out a lot. I don't eat in a lot of different places. And it's not a lot of places that while you're on the road and you're out that you can eat healthy. But we're going to name drop again, Publix, where you can go and you get your spinach wrap.
We're Florida boys. We love our Publix now.
Made how you want it, So I get the turkey, no cheese, onions, green peppers, yellow peppers, chipotle sauce, black pepper, oregano, and a little boar's head sauce, sub sauce. And this is a half a wrap. So I'll eat this half, and then I won't, for that'll be good in a couple of hours. If I go work out, after I work out, I'll be ready for the second half, so.
No, I'm with you. And it's something I've had to learn. The boys at the Cigar Lounge love to pick on me because I cook in my car now. Most of y'all have seen the videos I post up because of it. But I've had to make that decision in my life because, I'm on the road, as you are now with the book.
Right.
And you're right. There are thousands of unhealthy places.
Yes. Very few healthy.
Very few healthy.
Yeah.
Very, very few healthy. And I like what you said about paying attention to your body because it's something that I've had to learn. The difference between boredom hunger and actually being hungry. And, I have been programmed like most Americans. When I'm watching TV, I need something in my hand to eat,
Okay.
When I drive, I like to have a snack. And, the chocolates that aren't bad for you cost $6.
Dark chocolates.
The chocolates that are horrible for you cost $1. McDonald's is $8. That Publix sub cost you about the same amount of money.
It cost me $7.
Okay,
Right,
okay,
cost me $7.
but not as much food.
Right. Not as much, but we don't. We need to
don't need
stop.
it.
We need to stop eating to get full. Right. You eat to subdue that appetite, and you move forward. You may eat 3 or 4 times a day as long as you're eating healthy. your body, by eating the proteins, your body will burn that protein off faster. So you find yourself eating maybe 4 or 5 times a day. That's because your body is burning that protein, right? It's not that those carbs are not sticking with you, making you full to where you're eating once or twice a day.
Well, and if you go back to 50 years ago, America had the healthiest country in the world. It wasn't even close.
Right.
The average American was 2 or 3 inches taller than their counterpart around the world.
Okay.
Most of us were in somewhat decent shape. And then our bakeries shut down. And we got high fructose corn syrup and everything. And
Butcher shops, you don't see too many butcher shops anymore.
don't see too many true butcher shops.
Right.
And everything was designed to last forever. I am learning that if bread doesn't start molding after 3 days, you shouldn't eat it. You shouldn't eat the moldy bread. But I'm just saying, like, bread that lasts forever, you shouldn't eat it. It's got those preservatives in it.
Right.
And, I fell into the same trap that most Americans have of eating what's convenient.
Right.
And
if you don't have to eat the bread, don't eat it.
you should.
Because it's a bunch of carbs. Again, there's carbs in everything that you eat. There's carbs in this wrap, right? So why intentionally eat carbs? Why intentionally eat bread? Why intentionally eat rice, pasta? Those are the things. If you're trying to live a better, a healthier lifestyle, if you're trying to lose weight, stop eating the carbs.
But isn't it amazing, though, that people in Europe and Africa, because bread's a big part of the culture in both of those things, that they eat bread for every meal. And they're healthy. My brother goes to Europe at least once a year. He loves going over there. And he said he eats a ton of bread with every single one of his meals.
Okay.
And he loses 10 pounds every time he goes over there.
Wow.
And I got to thinking, I was like, how is that possible? Like, I'm a Southern boy. Southern boys, we'll make anything into a sandwich.
Right.
Give us a chance, And, but I got to looking at it, and it goes back to that bakery bread versus that if you go to Europe and, cities in Africa, I'm not that familiar with the Asian on the bread thing. So somebody in the podcast that wants to comment, forgive us. Next week we'll have somebody actually answering questions and asking them. But their bread's not made the way our bread is. Their bread's not made with all the, bleached flour and all this other stuff.
Preservatives.
Preservatives.
Yeah.
And so they eat bread on a regular basis, and they don't gain the weight. Grandma used to make biscuits from scratch, and everybody was healthy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
I got a great grandmother that lived till she was 99, 100.
The food was different back then.
It was.
was
She had a
completely
doctor
different.
tell her she couldn't keep eating the way she was eating, and she looked at him and said, "I've outlived 3 of y'all. Maybe you should adopt what I eat."
Right.
And
then cancer wasn't as prevalent back then either.
it wasn't. It wasn't.
It was not prevalent back then, man. It was not in the forefront. And right now, cancer is like running rapid.
It really is. And I think, personally, it has to do with a lot with what we eat.
Most definitely.
And if you look at the meat that they ate back then, you would have, everybody had their own chickens. And you had 1 or 2 people in the community that raised their own hogs.
Right. Right.
Because America was actually built on pigs, not cows. I know Texas wants to argue about the beef, but when this country was founded, pork was one of the main things we ate.
Right. Well, I remember coming down, like I said, when I was as a kid. My grandparents had hogs. I don't remember them having a cow, but I remember them having hogs.
Yeah, because I mean, cow was a luxury.
Okay.
Plus you needed land for cows.
Right.
But you look at what we eat nowadays. Everything is just so processed. And I know about 6 months ago, I decided I was going to cut out fructose corn syrup out of my diet. And you know how hard that is?
It's in just about everything you eat, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
It's insane to me. Yeah. Like, everything that I tried to pick up had it in it, and they were adding it into things that didn't even make sense. Like, why do I want it in my bread? It doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Why do I want it in my beef jerky? And I would love to see America come back to the butcher shop on every corner. I'd love to see it come back to the local bakery on every corner.
Sure. But those days, man, unfortunately, won't, corporate America is just not make too much money off of all the bad stuff that, we're not going to see that anymore.
I thought one of the best things that happened recently was that the state of Florida, with their food stamp program, and I'm not against food stamps. I know everybody knows me as being this libertarian that hates all thing government, but I don't mind a certain amount of government, never have. And I don't mind feeding people that need to get fed.
Right.
But they took off a lot of the snacks that they had for the food stamps.
Yeah.
And made it to be more of the essentials. And I think that's a good thing in the end. Not that I don't think little Johnny deserves a cake.
Right.
But we need to get kids, and I'm as guilty as anybody with my son, so I'll stand up and, because I had him eating like me. Thank God that my son has always cared about the way he ate a little bit better than how daddy has.
Okay. That's good.
My son has always been a little bit more of a, not overly conscious, but has always tended more towards the, I used to call it fancy, now I call it more healthy stuff.
Right.
But we as parents, talking about being fathers, we've got to stop giving that to our kids.
Yeah, most definitely. We set the example. I set the example for my kids when I was raising my kids. They're 29 and 26 now. But, how I ate is, how I taught them to eat. They follow us. We are the head, right? So your family is going to follow in your footsteps.
100%.
Right? So we have to make sure that we take the lead in everything, and especially in our health, as well.
Yeah, and I think that's very important. It's something that I am learning as I go along. It's something that
It's never too late.
Never too late.
Right.
And I remember growing up, I used to eat like a pig. Because, we worked out in gardens and fields and stuff. And I've always been a little on the heavier side, but not fat. I've always been a big boy.
Right.
But I was healthy big. I've got pretty good sized bones. So, I ain't never going to be, right.
No, that's right.
I had a doctor once tell me that my bones alone weigh like 180 pounds. I'm just a big boy.
Right.
But and I look at it, and growing up, I had the advantage that a lot of people don't have. My dad went to work. My mom stayed home till I was in like 8th grade.
Okay.
And she cooked for us. And it was good, solid food. And so I'm with you. I think food is extremely important. I think diet is extremely important. It's something that I'm having to learn. I love my buffets, and I'm having to learn that buffets are not always the best thing in the world.
Definitely. Definitely. I stopped going to buffets because as I had gotten older, I don't eat as much. Going to a buffet for me is a waste of money. I cannot eat whatever, typically your average buffet is going to cost you, what, $20, $25 or something like that?
I normally go for lunch, so I normally pay about $15.
About $15. I'm not going to eat $15 worth of food, in one sitting.
Of course, nowadays, food is so expensive. I was one of the reasons why I decided to cook in my car. It wasn't just the health reasons. It's because most restaurants, I've been doing my job since 2008, and it used to cost me about $20 a day to do my job. That included gas and buying food.
Okay.
And from the last 2 administrations, and I blame Democrats and Republicans, the price has gone up so much that me and my business partner, if we spent more than $25 for lunch, between the two of us, we felt ripped off. Nowadays, it's like if we spend less than $40,
Right.
and the quality of the food hasn't gotten better. In fact, I would say the quality of the food has gotten worse, and the service has gotten worse too.
Right. Well, I think, the service industry has gone down. COVID. I blame COVID for that. Or just things, the service industry hasn't bounced back from COVID.
I agree with you, and I said this over and over again, that the hard-working service industry, they went to Uber Eats, Grubhub, and they realized that they can make the same amount of money and work the schedule they want to work. And so when COVID lifted, they didn't go back.
Right.
And it has, which is probably a good thing, because I think the restaurants that are making it are the ones that are starting to do better food.
Right.
Quality food. And quality food's important. And atmosphere is important when I go out to eat, I probably shouldn't eat out as much as I do, but, it is what it is.
Right. Well, it's a process, right? So we talked about, men taking care of themselves and eating right and exercising. And you're not just going to one day just start doing everything right? It's a process. Take your time. You're under, there's nobody, it's not a race, right? It's a journey.
And it really is changing your mindset. It's
right.
What is it? It takes 7 days to make something a habit, and it takes 45 days to break the habit. And so we have been conditioned. Take football. I love me some football. Go Jags, by the way. We finally got a pick in this second round. But we've been conditioned that if we're watching a ball game, we need food.
Right.
That's part of the experience of the game, is it not? What goes better with football than hot wings, right?
Right.
It's like watching a baseball game and not eating a hot dog.
Eating a hot dog, sure.
So we've been conditioned that way, and
yes.
it's a reconditioning. It's a remindset.
Right.
And kudos to the parents that brought their kids up with the right mindset about that. I was not one of those. How my son turned out to enjoy fish over a steak, I will never understand. Probably got tired of eating so many steak with daddy.
Okay.
But I think it is a mindset. I think it is something that we have to teach our kids. And it goes back to what you keep saying. We have to be the head of our households.
Right.
And I know that anytime we say that out loud, we get feminism beating down our door. And I don't care.
Right. Because it's not, we're talking about men. We're uplifting ourselves. Right. So, but also society has a problem with that. Right. So anytime we want to do better, we talk about men. What about the woman? We're not women.
We're not women.
We're not women.
And one thing I have learned in my lifetime is that when you lead the right way, the woman will fall in line, or she'll go away.
That's right. Right. That's right. That's right.
You know, it's one of the two. I know we've talked about different women in my life. Oh, you know, my dad had the final say, and my mom's a very strong-willed woman. But when my dad said no,
That was it.
it was it.
That's it.
It was
Right.
no. You know, we talked about Miss Cheryl Farrell the other day, you know, and the incident at the church that I grew up in. And interesting story for those that don't know. I was in college when I went to a all-white Southern Baptist church, and beautiful young lady came down and accepted Christ, and she happened to be black. They'd never had a black member because, you know, what is it? Churches and funeral homes are the most segregated places in the world. Shouldn't be that way, but it is. It is changing, thank God. I go to a church with a black elder and 2 white deacons, and I love it. The talk around the table when we break bread is amazing. But it caused an uproar in the church because there were certain people, won't drop names, that didn't like it. And a lot of times you don't like what you don't know.
Right.
You know, I won't
Right.
even call them a certain way. You
Right.
know, change is always, you know, hard for people. And she walked into the meeting, and I'm sitting there quietly trying to obsess what I should say as a young college kid. And she walks into the meeting, and she said, "Am I still the church secretary? And who's going to argue with Miss Cheryl Farrell?" And they're like, "Yeah." And she said, "Are we still Baptist?" And they said, "Yeah." She said, "Okay, so when she gets baptized, she'll be a member of the church. You don't want her to be a member of the church, don't baptize her. And I dare you not to do that."
Right.
And she walked out. Meeting adjourned. And she had a husband who was an extremely soft-spoken man.
Okay.
Extremely soft-spoken. Never knew the man for... I had to know him for 25 years going on. Never heard him raise his voice once. Never heard him get overly excited. Heard her get overly excited.
Okay.
Never heard him. But when she would get overly excited, he would look at her and he'd be like, "Cheryl." And you know what?
She calmed down.
She'd sit down and be quiet.
Right. Right.
And that way we go back to, you know, I think that these young generation, I have a lot of hope and a lot of, I think my son's generation is looking back and they don't want what their fathers had.
Right.
I don't even think a lot of them want what their granddaddies had. I think they want what their great granddaddy had.
Okay.
You know, that I can be a man.
Yeah.
I can speak.
Right.
I have a voice. And when I speak, I am the head of my household. As you called to be by God.
That's right. That's right.
You know, when you pass away, well, when you're mother of your children, it have already passed when y'all read the book. When your wife now, who's a lovely lady, love her to death, passes away, she will stand before God and give an account for herself.
Right.
It's all she will give an account for. When you pass away, you've got to give an account for your wife. You got to give an account for your children. And that is a responsibility that we have to not take so lightly. And I think we have to demand that we are the head of our households, but that also means that we have to step up to the plate and be the head of our households.
Right. Most definitely.
Because, I'm an insurance guy, and there is nothing that annoys me more than a man that won't sit in a meeting with me when his wife is discussing insurance. You know how many insurance policies I have written on husbands that refuse to be there? Don't want nothing to do with it. Know what their wife's doing, but don't want nothing to do with it. And I'm like, but you're a man. How are you not in this discussion?
We have given too much power to we have passed that power along to the woman.
We have.
And that's why, we could argue and say that's why society has gone in the direction it has gone in.
Well, I don't even think that's an argument.
Right. So you have to take back that power. You have to take back that responsibility.
But that's that word that boys don't want to hear. Man, and this is something I've had to learn, and I've had to grow up. I wasn't always a man that wanted to sit here, but I wasn't always a boy, because I was a boy back then, and I don't want to sit here and talk about responsibility. I thought I had it all figured out.
Right.
And I didn't take responsibility for my actions. And until you take responsibility for your actions, you can't take responsibility for everybody else's actions.
That's right.
And if we want women to be submissive, which is their God-given role, and anybody that wants to come on me and argue with me with that, I'll be more than happy to open up God's word, and we'll go through God's word and what God has to say about it, because ultimately He's the one that made us, so He's the one that's got the decision.
And I believe the word says, "Wife, submit yourself unto thy husband." Right, but there's a second part. Right,
Very
there's a
important.
second part, very important, because it goes hand in hand. Wife, submit thyself unto thy husband. Husband, love your wife as God loved the church.
As Christ loved the church.
Right.
And I make that distinction, even though Christ was God. But He died for His church. And going back to when we're talking about getting married and being married, if you're not willing to lay your life down for that woman, you shouldn't put a ring on her.
That's right.
You shouldn't.
Right. I agree.
And I never understood that. And, I realized that the one I'm with now is the one I wanted to marry, because I thought about her being in a relationship with somebody else and that person not taking good care of her. And I realized that would break my heart.
So that's the love that you have for her.
That's the love.
Right.
And my fiance will be more than happy to tell you that she submits, and she is happily to do that. Because, that comes with other things, and I try my best to take care of her.
Sure.
And I think that is a role that we have to not only take back, but we have to get ourselves prepared to take that. And, we hear it said at weddings all the time, women will leave their parents and desire their husbands. And you know that's a curse. That's actually not a blessing. That's put in with the curse.
Okay.
That's not saying that she will desire you sexually or desire to be with you. It's actually a curse. It's actually saying that she will desire to supplant you. And that God told Adam, no matter what you do not give up your headship. And so at the very beginning of the foundation of the earth, after the fall, God tells Adam, no matter what you do, you stay head of the household. I mean, you know, you got all these statistics out there that point to certain races and crime and everything else. And, you know, we always talk about what's going to change that, what's going to fix that, what needs to be done with that. And I think it's actually a simple thing.
Which is?
Put you back in the house.
Yes. Put the man back in the house. The man in the house. Correct.
You realize that a two-parent household where a father is the head of his household and doesn't play the radio, but does it with kindness and love. For younger people, don't play the radio means you don't put up with stuff. Means that you are... your yeses are yeses and your noes are noes, and when you tell them to do something, you expect it done, or there's consequences.
Right.
You realize that they are only about a 8% chance of a kid ever winding up in jail? And I'll take the other thing. You realize that a single father household has about the same statistic of the kids not winding up in jail?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only when you remove masculinity do you get that there's a 50% chance that the kid will go to jail. When a woman raises a kid by herself. That right there should tell you how important we are.
Right, right.
In this society.
And, you know, so I was raised by a single mother. But again, you talking about a different era, a different type of woman, you know, who had to be mom and dad. And she did it, you know, raised two boys in the heart of Philly, you know, and she did an excellent job. But in today's time, can a woman in today's time raise two men?
No.
Two boys to be men? I don't
No.
think so either.
No, and I also think, and you touched on earlier, and we've talked about this, how important it is for us as fathers to be a father to the fatherless.
The unspoken rule.
It is.
It's
And
unspoken
it's
rule.
what men have always done throughout generations.
Yes.
And it seems to be a lack of that nowadays. Whether it's a coach that takes up a little bit more time with Johnny because Johnny doesn't have a daddy at the house. Whether it's an uncle that comes along and